Lord of the Flies, written by William Golding in 1954.
By Stella Boyajian,
Ania Brahmian.
Anait Sharamatian,
and Ella Kriglian.
Introduction. William Golding, a British novelist, wrote this novel as a way to portray the events that occurred in World War II. Since he was a part of this tragic war, he wrote the book to display the terror and violence he went through. This war influenced him deeply to write this novel. Golding even turned to his wife to ask if it was a good idea to write the novel based on a story he read entitled The Coral Island.
setting, an unnamed island. The story takes place on an unnamed island near the South Pacific Ocean. It takes place at the time of the Cold War, where many people were struggling to escape. Among these escapees were the boys Ralph, Jack, Piggy, Simon, Roger, Sam, Eric, Morris, Percival, as well as the pilot. Their plane crashed into this island, which left them stranded for a very long time. Upon the boys' arrival, they are quick to notice that they are the only ones on the island and they must do everything to survive. The boys tried everything to survive, building numerous signal fires, which burnt out, as well as embracing and learning hunting skills.
Ralph, the leader and the most civil amongst boys. Ralph was the protagonist of this novel. He represented order, civilization, and conduct amongst the boys on the island. When the boys first landed, they were needed a leader to maintain order amongst them. Ralph was the most civilized out of all of the boys, while everyone else wanted to play and have fun. Ralph was all about survival. When Piggy and Ralph discovered the conch, they used it as a way of communication and order. Ralph was a great leader who listened to the boys' ideas, however, took control when he found it necessary. Despite being the most civil, he found it himself giving into savagery at a certain point. If I blow the conch, if I blow the conch and they don't come back, then we've had it. We shan't keep the fire going. We'll be like animals, we'll never be rescued. This quote's meaning is Ralph is trying to stay civil, meanwhile the others just want to have fun. He came up with the conch for people to have their own opinions and says on what's going on. He has the hope to get rescued, but the others just don't want to go back home.
The most savage and disruptive amongst the boys is Jack. One of the major quotes that describes Jack is, "Bollocks to the rules, we're strong, we hunt. If there's a beast, we'll hunt it down. We'll close in and beat and beat and beat." Unlike Ralph, who was all about surviving, Jack was all about being disruptive, savage, and playing games. Jack is arrogant, brutal, as well as fierce and has a needy desire for power. He always had a bad relationship with Ralph because he envisioned himself as the group's leader. Jack would always go against Ralph and his orders. He failed to listen to the demands. When Jack failed to kill the pig for the first time, he became overly obsessed in hunting and killing. He believed hunting and killing were much more important than survival. He created his own group on Castle Rock to oppose Ralph.
Simon, the kind-hearted and generous soul who doesn't let savagery get to him. Simon was much different from all the other boys. Even when it seemed that savagery was the only way to get to survival, Simon still chose to remain civilized. Whilst everyone participated in the savage hunt dance, Simon saw that even Ralph joined and thought that savagery may have gotten the best of everyone, even the civil ones. Simon is the most moral out of all and believes that there's so much evil within them. Maybe there's a beast. Maybe it's only us. When the boys are busy fighting over whether or not there was a beast, the intelligent Simon suggests that maybe the beast was the evil embedded within their souls.
Piggy, the most intellectual and talkative boy. Piggy was the first boy that Ralph came across. He was the only one who remained real and innocent. He became a victim of savagery. Piggy matured very quickly and did not let savagery get into his soul. Piggy was the brains behind all of Ralph's innovations and discoveries. He came up with the idea of using the conch as a way to communicate. He got bullied for his glasses as well as his asthma condition even by Ralph. He valued logic and intellect more than anything. What are we, humans or animals or savages? What's grown-ups going to think? This quote indicates how Piggy valued logic more than anything. He understood what the others didn't, which was that the majority of the boys were turning into savages while the rest remained civil.
The twins. Sam and Eric are the most youngest and the most innocent of the group. They weren't seen to be the most useful in the beginning of the novel because they were so young compared to everybody else. Both of the boys were a part of Ralph's group because they found the sense of safeness in him and saw him as a big brother. Although they wanted to be rescued, their mindset was also about having fun by building sandcastles on the beach. By the end of the novel, Jack had taken advantage of them by forcing them to join his group, although they were deemed as civilized. The quote, so did we, very early. We were very tired. Sam touched a scratch on his forehead and then hurriedly took his hand away. Eric fingered his split lip. Yes, we were very tired, repeated Sam, so we left early. Was it a good? The air was heavy with an unspoken knowledge. Sam twisted, and the obscene words shot out of him. Dance. Memory of the dance that none of them had attended shook all the four boys convulsively. We left early. The quote meaning about the twins is about how the twins helped to kill Simon, but they never wanted to admit it because it was against their morals.
Internal conflict. Ralph's internal conflict was the most important thing to stay civilized. Ralph's goal was always to stay civilized and make his way back home to his family. He had to adjust to the new civilization how to hunt. He also had to figure out how to lead and not cause conflict with Jack and other members of the group. They had to figure out shelter as well, which they somewhat did. He also participated in killing Simon, but he wanted to still try to stay civil and not cause problems until they get rescued. He had a gut feeling that killing him would change him, but he knew he had to fight it because if he didn't, he would change and not be the same person that got abandoned. It was dark. There was that bloody dance. There was lightning and thunder and rain. We was scared. I wasn't scared, said Ralph slowly. I was. I don't know what I was.
External conflict. One of the major external conflict in this novel was the battle between Ralph and Jack. Jack was always furious with Ralph because he didn't like the group selected Ralph to be the leader. Jack, who was desperate to be the leader, created his own group to oppose Ralph, in which only savages can be a part of. Ralph, the main oh my god. Ralph, the main conflict that arose between the two was because of Jack's jealousy towards Ralph and the power that Ralph held. Ralph counted, I'm chief then. Don't you want to be rescued? All you can talk about is pig, pig, pig. The significance of both of these quotes showcase how Ralph and Jack are in a constant battle against each other because while one values survival and civilization, the other values savage acts, hunting, and killing. Jack versus Piggy. Much like the conflict between Jack and Ralph, there was also a major conflict between Jack and Piggy. Jack would always bully Piggy and continuously threaten to kill him with his group of savages. Jack and Piggy's battle grew the most out of hand as the tension between them led to Piggy's death at the end of the novel. Jack smacked Piggy's head. Piggy's glasses flew off and tinkled on the rocks. Piggy cried out in terror. This showcased the evil and savage in Jack's soul and how he would stand at no measure to kill the ones who stood in his way.
Plot. Exposition. Boys were stranded on the island and are left to take care of themselves. They soon find a conch that soon represents order. The rising action. The boys make plans for a rescue and start to build a fire, but nobody is helping because they are being careless and don't want to be rescued like the others. The fire on the mountain goes out and Ralph and Jack have a major fight. Climax. Jack kills Simon. Simon knew the beasts were fake and that there wasn't a beast, but was killed anyway. Falling action. Ralph tries to fix everything, make huts for the ones who are civilized. Piggy's death is also the falling action, and so is Simon's. The resolution. Ralph and the remaining boys are saved by the naval officer.
Themes: civilization versus savagery. Golding presents civilization through Ralph because Ralph always wanted to keep everyone civilized and work together. The quote, "They aren't any grown-ups, we shall have to look after ourselves." Ralph spoke on this to persuade everyone to work together and not lose hope. He also spoke on civilization because he wanted everyone to stay sane and not forget that they will get rescued. Loss of innocence. They matured very quickly when getting abandoned on the island because they knew that acting like kids meant that they wouldn't survive. Until the adults come to fetch us, we'll have to have fun. This quote meant that they'd have fun, but they'd also have to figure out how to hunt for food, where to find shelter. Nature versus nurture. They were boys getting abandoned on the island, and they had parents to rely on. Being abandoned played a big role on the whole group because they had to grow up and become more mature by feeding themselves and making fires so people in the boats can get a sign that they are abandoned. The nurture in which the boys were raised in were very proper English boys. They had manners and valued the way society saw them. The nature that they came upon on the island caused them to change and become savages. Jack was affected the most from the island because he turned into a savagery first, therefore showcasing how nature versus nurture affected the boys.
Style. Golding employs the use of style to showcase prominent issues throughout the novel. For diction, we need an assembly, not for fun, but to put things straight. I got the conch. Golding also connects words and uses them interchangeably throughout different scenes. For example, conch and assembly both symbolize a sense of civilization, which is a major theme in most of the chapters. For narrative voice, we need shelters. Suddenly Jack shouted in rage. Are you accusing? All I'm saying is we've worked dash hard. Narrative voice is showcased through the characters of Ralph and Jack. It presents that fact that both the boys are considered to have a more straightforward way of expressing their feelings rather than other characters.
Style and rhetorical devices continued. Imagery. Behind Ralph, the tall grass had lifted with silent hunters. As presented in the textual evidence, Golding employs the use of imagery to describe pressing issues in the chapters. In this case, the quote showcased how savageness was taking over the island and that Ralph was, in a sense, turning his back from it. Imagery is a very important part of this novel due to the fact that Golding uses his way of words in order to help the reader visualize the setting of the island, thus making it worth reading. Tone. We got no fire on the mountain, but what's wrong with the fire down here? A fire could be built on these rocks. According to the textual evidence, Piggy is speaking on behalf of Ralph and himself, showcasing how they want to be rescued and return home. However, earlier in the chapter, Golding presents a different tone with Jack, who is more demanding on the fact that he doesn't want to be rescued, but rather he wants to remain on the island and continue his savage lifestyle.
Group evaluation. Overall, based on the information presented in the project, Lord of the Flies is worth reading from the perspective of our group. This is because Golding portrays pressing issues through different personalities, themes, and the style in which the novel is written. His employment of rhetorical devices makes the novel stand out to the reader because it represents the novel as unique. Many people who have read the novel can say that they were intrigued by the direction of the development in which Golding took the characters. The themes as well were very prominent, one being civilization versus savagery. The author was able to showcase the theme in such order that made the audience question the side each character was on. Therefore, from the standpoint of our group, we can conclude that Golding's Lord of the Flies is indeed worth reading.
The quiz. If you're ever interested in reading Lord of the Flies, we're going to give you some questions that you can answer yourself, and then we'll give you the correct answers. So we'll start off with, how did the boys land on the island? A, they came back on a boat. B, their plane crashed. C, they swam there. Second question. What did the boys use to communicate with each other? A phone. B. A speaker, C. A conch shell. 3. Which of the boys gave in to savagery first? A. Jack, B. Simon, C. Roger. 4th. Ralph thought that the only way to survive would be to follow the established rules. A. True, B. False. 5. Which of the boys died at the end of the novel? A. Ralph and Jack, B. Simon and Piggy, and C. The twins. Who saves the boys? It's number 6. A. Ralph's dad, B. Piggy's aunt, C. Naval officer. And last but not least, what was the importance of the conch shell? A. To symbolize order amongst the boys, B. To make music for the boys, C. To call for passing ships. And next slide, we're going to be showing you the correct answers. So for the first question, B. Their plane crashed. Second, C. A conch shell. Third, A. Jack. 4th, yes, correct, true. 5th, B. Simon and Piggy. 6th, the naval officer. And last but not least, A. To symbolize order amongst the boys. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to our presentation.